the family community.
How you doing?
To the top
Good.
because
Yes.
we got-
Oh, we have citizens, I think.
Yeah, no, I meant, the first.
Yeah, no, I know.
Everybody all set? Yeah. Please rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Superintendent, will please call the roll for the Woburn School Committee meeting of May 10th, 2022.
Ms. Chisholm.
Here.
Ms. Cormier.
Present.
Ms. Crowley.
Present.
Mr. Kissel.
Here.
Mr. Lipset.
Here.
Mr. Mulrennan. Dr. Wells.
Here, okay, thank you. I'm wearing a mask this evening because I had COVID last week. I'm fine right now, but just on the precaution for my fellow members, that's why I'm wearing it this evening. First up, public comment. Anybody like to come up? Come on up. And come on up too. And just state your name. All right, thank you.
My name's Rachel Kuberry, and I live in the Heroic neighborhood. And I'm here to speak on two things: community participation in these meetings and COVID. First, regarding community participation, my son's here with me tonight because we don't have childcare. He's not thrilled to be here. I'm definitely not thrilled to have brought him. But this happened last week and at other previous meetings. So last week I noticed that we had a Zoom link posted for the meeting on the city website. So I jumped on the Zoom call for public comment after my son was in bed. It quickly became obvious, however, that the Zoom link was not intended for public participation, but instead to accommodate a school committee member who was sick. I do wish the same remote accommodation can be made that was made for the school committee member could be made on a regular basis for the people that you serve in the greater Woburn community. Many people in the Woburn community have difficulty attending meetings in person to a variety of factors, including childcare, work schedules, and transportation. While I understand this is how we've always done it, times have changed and new technology exists. Whether it's available for every meeting, one meeting a month, only briefly for public comment part of the meeting, or only for special meetings like last week's budget meeting, adding in remote participation for the public would encourage community participation. Second, regarding COVID, I haven't heard this mentioned by the school committee or any of the Woburn administrators, but Woburn recently became red. I'm wearing my mask because the CDC states on their website that we should simply wear a well-fitting mask indoors, in public, regardless of vaccination status, including in K-12 schools and other indoor community settings. This is the major difference between when we were orange or yellow, when the CDC leaves masking up to personal preference. The district's responsibility is to follow the CDC recommendations and help parents stay up to date in this changing information. The methods used to do so are easy. We can post notice at school entrances, add it to regular newsletters from the schools, or send out a memo from the superintendent's office. We see these methods being implemented in our surrounding towns, so it's feasible. Sharing this change in recommendation will hopefully help us stop short of requiring masks in any of our school buildings again. I'd also like to ask for regular updates on COVID at these meetings once again. These updates can be simply, we're good, like we were a month ago, or in the case of this week, it could be more detailed, sharing with the public that our cases in the schools have more than doubled in the past week alone. This virus is still with us and will be for quite some time. We need to adjust our communication strategies to support our school community in making and then adjusting individual health and safety decisions as variables change. All right, thanks guys.
Thank
We're headed to bed.
A good night.
Thank you.
Anyone else like?
You have to give them, if you guys have a written statement,
Oh, yeah.
you have to give the Jean.
Yeah. If you want, you can, if it's a written statement, you can just drop it off and then she can get it verbatim or, thank you. Bye. Okay. Anybody else wanting to speak? No? Okay, thank you very much. Next up, student representative report.
She's here. Hello, everybody. It's good to be in person for my second time. All right, so in terms of upcoming events happening at the high school, what happened last week, May 2nd through the 13th and ongoing will be the AP exams. Sophomore semi-formal occurred on May 6th. Tanner Fest occurred on April 30th. And in terms of upcoming senior events, on Wednesday, May 18th, from 7 to 9, will be award and recognition night for all grades, Thursday, May 19th will be the last day of classes for seniors. On May 20th and through May 23rd, 4th, and 25th will be senior exams and the Passion Project and internship presentations. On May 26th will be the promenade. Following that will be the prom at Danvers Port Yacht Club. On May 31st, there will be graduation rehearsal, decision day, and seniors will fulfill all outstanding obligations. On Wednesday, June 1st, it will be senior class day, and also scholarship night for all seniors who were nominated or received a scholarship. On Thursday, June 2nd, there will be a senior class trip from 6 to 8 to Six Flags. And also the scholarship acceptance portal will be open on June 2nd. And lastly, on Friday, June 3rd, there will be graduation at 6 p.m. On May 13th will be the school musical at the high school at 2 p.m. On 2 p.m. on the 14th as well. From 5:17 through 5:18, it will be the Math MCAS for grade 10. On 5:20, it will be the Spectrum Community Gala from 5 to 10 p.m. also at the high school. On June 4th, the SAT exam will be at the high school. On 6/6, the junior class Civic Showcase and Rho Kappa History National Honor Society induction will occur in the evening. And on June 6th through June 8th, it will be student government days. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Right, getting towards the end.
Yes, there's a lot.
Yeah. Any questions from the committee?
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Faith.
And so the next meeting, will that be your last? Let's see.
This one is actually my last, and I think the remainder of the year
Okay.
I will be out of school as seniors are, and then my colleague Sophia will be doing the last
Okay.
few.
All right, so I'm going
Awesome.
to put you on the spot. I kind of warned you last
Absolutely.
time.
Yes, you
Maybe
definitely
if you
did.
just want to talk about things that you thought we do extremely well, things that maybe we could do better, from your perspective.
Yeah, exactly. One thing to start, I think the entire management in going through the whole COVID situation that happened a few years ago, I think it was handled very well. I think we got a lot of updates in the beginning, and it was a good thing that we have wonderful school committee representatives that help us through uncertain times, because no one really knew what was happening. And through the coming years that have happened, I think the school committee has done a great job with keeping us in school and doing the best with keeping up with mask and vaccination mandates, because the ultimate goal is to keep us in school, and I think that was really useful. And I overall learned a lot through having this position, just kind of what it means to be in a setting like this, and proper skills and how to publicly speak and share opinions, and how important the school committee is, with not just talking amongst the officials within the school administration, but also inviting the public outside as well. I feel like that is a wonderful thing. And I think that's all I have that comes to mind. I'm sure there'll be more.
Well, we're always open for suggestions on how to make
Yes.
the system better, especially from the people that are using the system,
Yeah.
the students. So,
Yeah.
Ms. Chisholm.
Yeah, and where will you be attending in the fall?
Boston University.
You are. Good for you.
Awesome.
Good for
I'm
you.
excited.
I'm sure your parents
We're very
are happy
proud
with
of
that
Yes.
price
Thank
increase.
you so much.
I know. I saw that too.
Well,
Good for you. Well, hopefully scholarship night will do.
I know. That's right.
Yes.
Well, they hopefully take that into account.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Faith, do you have a running countdown in your head? How many days left?
Oh my gosh, I think it's a week from Thursday.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, a week from Thursday. That
Quite
last day
possible.
for
The
seniors.
seniors I know tend to have that number readily accessible.
Yeah.
Hours.
Yeah, yeah.
Good for
All
you.
right. Anybody else? Well, it's been a pleasure having you.
Yes.
It
Wonderful.
started out in uncertain times and uncertain ways of communication. You've done a great job representing your fellow students, and we truly appreciated having you here at these meetings. And we look forward to seeing you at graduation.
Thank you
you.
so much for having me. It was a
Yep.
pleasure.
Thank you, Faith.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck,
Okay.
Faith.
And you're always welcome to stay or sneak out as quick as you can if you want.
Oh, thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
So next up, we have reports and presentations of superintendent and staff. I'd like to get a motion from the board to move item E up to the top.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Superintendent?
Sure, so that means the Family and Community Engagement Liaison Team is up. So Ms. Mendez Sheldon, and I know there's representatives from the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club here, so we'll do that presentation now.
Thank you.
I'm getting Mr. Martin to do a double take.
Thank you all for being here. Sorry for the delay in getting it, but much anticipated, so we appreciate your presence here tonight.
First of all, thank you so much for having us all here. For those who don't know me, I'm Adriana Mendes Sheldon, Family and Community Engagement Liaison for the district. And we have our partners here today.
Sure. I'm Julie Gage. I'm from the Boys and Girls Club. Steve Martin, Assistant Principal, Woburn High School. Seth Lucas from the YMCA.
I am the Family and Community Engagement Liaison Assistant.
Nelly.
Oh, yes, I'm Nelly.
You're not just that, the assistant. You have a name. So next slide. I feel horrible asking you to move my slides, Dr. Crowley.
Just nod and I'll
I don't want to be unsubordinated, but please, next slide. So our philosophy when we started thinking about family engagement in a district, actually some of that came when I first interviewed for this position, when I was thinking what we need to make family engagement sustainable and strong. It's based on what we call the 5 C's: collaboration, communication, culture, creativity, and compassion. This is a framework that we developed, and we believe that a systemic, sustainable, and dynamic and strong family engagement will have all those 5 components. And that's why I'm not here alone today, just to really show how we've been working based on what we believe is our philosophy for this work. So collaboration is our first C, and this work cannot be done in a silo, cannot be done by one person alone. No organization or person needs to know it all or have it all. I think, in fact, a lot of organizations and people spend a lot of time trying to be what they're not or trying to become what they were not designed for. So our idea is to partner with organizations who can leverage our strengths and fill in our gaps and do what we need to do. And one thing that I tell my kids, they were supposed to be here, but they are the Brazilian in the family. They're usually late. They're not me, the Brazilian. We alone are just one piece of a puzzle. And usually what I do when I find a piece of a puzzle in my house, I kind of throw them away. But together, we are a piece of a puzzle that's the Casa Sheldon piece of a puzzle. That together with our neighbors in North Woburn, we are a bigger piece of a puzzle of North Woburn. That together will be Woburn. And the whole goes on, so forth and so on, until we all have a beautiful and impactful picture of all of us together, which we wouldn't have if we just stayed by ourselves. So we believe, and we have been working with internal and external collaboration, and we think that's critical. And we also believe that partnerships equal fundings, and funding equals opportunities for our students. And communication is another C. Two-way communication, equitable, responsive communication. Sometimes I don't like, people would say, oh, you're giving voice to the voiceless. I don't really believe anybody's voiceless. I believe that sometimes we're not listening. And sometimes we need a platform to lift all the voices. And that's what we also are aiming to do systemically. And, we also believe in our philosophy that it's okay to say we don't know, and that it's also okay to communicate and open channels of communication and conversation when we don't have all the answers. Because if we wait to have all the answers, we'll probably never communicate. And one thing that Dr. Crowley and I, we talked a lot about is when we don't give the narrative to people, they will make their own. So it's okay to be vulnerable, we believe, in our situation, and to have conversations without answers. And because what happens is, when you're vulnerable and working things together and communicating, you're creating relationships of trust. and emotional bonds. And research shows that highly effective teams are emotionally connected outside of work. And also research shows that when you have emotionally connected people around you, there's less friction, less frustration, less complaint. So that's the secret for less friction, communication. And that was a joke sometimes. It doesn't work like that. Culture. So family engagement, again, is not the job of one person. And we've seen, talking with other districts, sometimes when you have a strong family engagement team, the rest of the people just don't do engagement anymore because it all becomes the family engagement job. So that's backwards. We believe that family engagement is everybody's job. It's a cultural shift. And it makes me think of a story that a boss from 30 years ago told me about a NASA astronaut that was leaving his training, and he was dressed like a civilian, not with a big helmet, like looking like an astronaut. And he saw a custodian cleaning the floors, and it was very late at night. And he asked her, why are you swiping the floor so late? And her answer was, I'm helping men to go to the moon. And how powerful is that? Can you imagine one day for all our staff, our coaches, our paraprofessionals, our bus drivers, everybody, our teachers in the school will be equipped to engage families. That would be incredible. And if somebody asks, what are you doing here, Mr. Martin, so late? I'm helping students thrive. But you will give that answer anyway. Creativity. So I think we all can agree that we had to think outside the box for the last 2 years. And one thing that I heard a lot sometimes was, you're opening a can of worms. And fun fact for people who speak more than one language, when you hear an idiomatic expression, you immediately translate them. And I love to open can of worms because nothing actually happens. They all stay in a can. But if you decide to give me a can of spiders, I might not handle that well. So we are willing to open cans of worms, think outside the box, and just create things out of nothing. And that's how a lot of the things that we've been doing were born. And compassion. It kind of is the seed that ties it all together. If you don't have compassion right now, you should be maybe looking for another job.
You have to listen to the story, what comes today.
I know. And compassion is what's gonna keep us going. When there's no hope because their needs are so big, we keep on keeping on. When there is, when problems keep you awake at night because you don't have solutions, you just wake up in the morning and you try to find a solution. And it's just without compassion, we believe that family engagement, any family engagement strategy would just be checking in a box and not really doing something that's transformative. So this is our 5 C's of family engagement philosophy for the district. So if we go to the next page, thank you. We all talked about and heard about the supervised learning centers, and it's something that I'm so proud about. If I die today, I can say I was involved in it, and it was absolutely an amazing, crazy initiative that we started our first crazy meeting, August, I think, 2020, to talk about what are we going to do with the kids who have no supervision or be at home with nobody to help them during online school days. And we were like, I don't know, let's talk about it. And here we are. 2 years later, we were able to support close to 300 families in 2 new school sites that were created out of nothing, the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA. And we have talked many times about it, but tonight I invited Seth and Julie to come and give them their perspective on how it was working with the family engagement team in developing and implementing that strategy and initiative.
Sure. I just think that that was just the start of a larger conversation. I think that the school system and the YMCA and the club and many CBOs here in Woburn, we all have the same goal, right? We all want kids to be successful. We all want families to thrive, and when families are successful, students will be successful and they'll learn better. And I think we've all, for years and years, we're all trying to do it, but as Adriana said, in silos and not really communicating as well as we could have been, and not working together and collaborating as well as we could have been. So for us, it really was just that, program, the SLC, were just a launching point for a much bigger conversation, and I'm so proud that we've continued those conversations and we continue to get together on a weekly basis to just discuss what's happening, what are you seeing on the ground, and one example that has come from that is we were every Friday talking about some of the behavior challenges. We're seeing the same behavior challenges that the classroom teachers are seeing, and what can we do about it and how can we work together. And so right now we're just part of social learning and the school program right now. But it's just been such a wonderful thing for us to have the school adjustment counselors coming into the programs, in the afternoons, because I think it's really important that children hear the same language at after school that they hear during the day, right? It's really important that there's not a whole different structure for discipline and support and emotional support in the afternoon, at 3 o'clock, but at 2 o'clock they were told something totally different, right? It's really important that there's a continuation of learning, whether it's academic learning or social emotional learning. And so that's just a small example of what everyone sitting at the table together and talking about what kids and families need in August of 2020 has led to. And so it's just really just proud to be a part of the team and excited to continue the partnership to see, what we can do moving forward. So that was really just the beginning for us. I just think that continuing to collaborate is just really important for all of our students moving forward. Sure.
I'll just briefly add that like Julie said, there have been so many tangible benefits to families of our partnership. And I think we have approached this, it took a little work, but we approached this with so much humility and so little ego. And, for the YMCA and Boys and Girls Club logos to be in the same circle, which seems not like a big thing, right? That we haven't always worked together, and we don't work together in so many communities. And I've said time and again, this partnership is so special. Woburn has done something really incredible here by bringing together different voices and perspectives and agencies, really for the benefit of families and children in Woburn. And I'm so proud to be part of this group.
Yes, across the state, our partnership is we are called in different trainings and speaking engagements to talk about this partnership because it is very different than other communities have. So yeah, it's special. Yeah. Thank you. So we'll move to the next one. Thank you, Seth and Julie. Just going to talk a little bit about some rough numbers. These are the numbers that were in our school district profile. So if the numbers are not exactly what they are right now, that's why we use something that was published. But what is really important, we all know that our enrollment increased from last year to now, and we know that also ELs, MLs enrollment have increased. And also our low-income students, low economic status students. So, but what this chart tells me is a story that if we look at these numbers, roughly a third of our students are now low economic status. And if we count the EL students that we have and divide by the number of average classroom of 20 students, we would have about 215 classrooms. That means that in one classroom at any point of time, we could have half of the classroom be students for low economic status and ELs. Knowing that those students are not equally distributed geographically in our schools, we could have at any point in time more than half of our students not ready to connect with learning, either because they don't speak the language or because they slept in a car or because they don't know where the next meal is going to come from or because the parents have restraining orders against each other. And none of these stories, we are making them up. We hear them every week. And so how do we help these families and the students to be able to be ready to learn? If they're hungry, they're not going to learn. If they're scared, they're not going to learn. So, e se eu começar a falar em português aqui também, ninguém vai entender. Imagina isso, né? Vou falar de um exemplo de uma pessoa, então. Mas não vou falar muito tempo para vocês não ficarem desconfortáveis. One actress from Russia, I don't know if you guys have heard of her, Mila Curtis, she said the experience she felt when she came to the United States as a student was that she was deaf and blind because she couldn't understand what she was seeing. She didn't understand the food. She didn't understand the arrangements of the classroom. And she also couldn't understand what she was being told. So if we metaphorically think of our students who are not able to connect with learning, that they are deaf and blind, we could have a full classroom of those students sometimes. They're not able to learn yet because they're not ready because of what they're bringing from their home, the shared experiences that they have. And also, I'm not a teacher. I'm not going to say I'm an educator, but I can only imagine how hard it is for a teacher to help those students be connected to learning when they're not ready. So, but research shows that recent research, meaningful, strong family engagement can help with student outcomes, and not only academic outcomes, but also quality of life outcomes, and also teacher job satisfaction. Some research even says that no matter family income or background, the engaged families will have children who have better academic and lifelong quality indicators. And when families are engaged in school, not only the child, the engaged family will perform well, but the rest of the classroom will perform well. Next one up. I have to apologize. Erin was supposed to be here, Mrs. Johnson. She's our EL coordinator, and she is at home sick, with 2 kids sick. And Kendra, also social emotional learning coordinator, Mrs. Tinson, is also at home sick, with kids sick, and I got a fractured thumb, so like we are almost all here. And this slide was hers, but what I can talk about it with some knowledge, and is this LIFE program is something that Ms. Johnson is working on to develop a LIFE program. For those who don't know what LIFE is student with limit or formal education, interrupted formal education. Sorry, and with COVID, we are seeing probably a lot of students might be classified. At least they have been flagged as to be further assessed to see whether or not there is life. So this is something that Ms. Johnson is working on. I'm participating in the planning committee, and something that we hope to have it soon. And also next week is LPAC, so apply for LPAC. And we have coming for the end of the school year, the WUPAC, that's not in there, but it's a collaboration. We are going to have a meeting of CPAC and LPAC at the end of the school week. Next one, thank you. Also, again, this was Ms. Stinton's slide, but which shows us that a lot of our most vulnerable student populations are the ones more at risk for social, emotional, and mental health issues. So again, this is just to show the reason why we were, the 3 of us sitting here, is just to reiterate the fact that we work very closely together, because we know our disciplines cross each other, and we wanted to be able to create systems that will better support our students and the students who are most vulnerable. Next one. I think you all have seen that one before. Nellie and I do, right now. I'm going to let Nellie talk about that one.
So here we have, so this is what our families that we have been speaking to and working with. So we have a chart that every time I speak to a parent, it gets logged in, and then it gets created into this beautiful pie. I'm such a visual person, so I love this pie. And I know that for right now you see food insecurity, but actually it's gone down. Like from when I started, it was like almost half of the pie. So this is actually really, really good. And also with the backpack program that was put in place, that also has helped tremendously with families, with other community agencies that we've been working with. St. Vincent de Paul is one of them. And just parents are just so grateful. You know, it's been wonderful. Also the medical and dental. You want to talk about that a little bit? I'm excited about that.
But I think, as Natalie pointed out, one trend that we are really carefully optimistic about is that when I looked at the data from when we started doing the tracker back in 2020, the spring of 2020, we were heavily located in the basic needs of Maslow pyramid. It was food insecurity, shelter, and now we are seeing a trend of those engagement moving into extended learning, after school, summer school, recreation activities, moving into adult learning, family and caregiver training. We still have food insecurity as our biggest challenge, but it's going down. So we are trying to be carefully optimistic, thinking, I think things are going better. But we don't want to jinx it. And having those numbers is very time consuming because Nellie and I, we manually entry them, but it's so helpful. We have written a lot of grants using the data. I have gone around Woburn talking about the data and sometimes coming back with a check to help with one or another need. So it's important to have the data in the system to track it. Did I forget anything, Nellie?
No. Do you want to do them?
No, we'll talk then. It's coming. It's coming.
One of the other parts that I really like is that in-person enrollment. It just creates that connection and that compassion, listening to their stories. And a lot of these families are scared to talk to their own students, like their son's teacher or their daughter's teacher. What are you scared about? Like, you know about your child, you know, it's okay. I can help you connect with the teachers. And the teachers are also very thankful, too, that we are also like a part. Oh, thank you, Nellie, for helping us connect. You know, thank you, Adriana, for helping us connect with this parent and stuff. So that is super important.
Yes, to date, we probably have had 120 in-person enrollments that came through our office. Yeah. And sometimes they come with 3 or 4 kids at once.
Yes.
It's great. Yeah. Next up, thank you. So we talked about our philosophy, we looked at some numbers, now we just want to talk about vision for a little bit. So we believe that our family engagement vision and mission needs to be aligned with the district blueprint and strategic plan so we can define our systems and our actions in a way that is going to push the district forward towards the district strategy. So for that, we work with School Women Institute. Is a local nonprofit consulting firm that was funded by DESI to work with different districts to help us. It was an opportunity to receive coaching and training and to reflect on our current practices and what we have learned after doing COVID and think about where we want to go with that. So I think in my mind, back in my consulting days, it's like doing a gap analysis, where we are right now, where we want to be, and how we're going to get from A to B. So this is something that we've been working with them. It's still ongoing since November. And Mrs. Martin was one of the 8 in our team. We had an internal team, and Mrs. Cormier was also our internal team, and also several focus groups. But if you could speak a little bit more about it.
Sure. So in an effort to try to engage a diverse group of stakeholders, we had students who we surveyed. We also had parents who we surveyed, and we were able to gather data based on gaps that we thought were areas of need. And so we used that data, and we were able to come up with kind of action plans or steps to try and communicate more efficiently with parents who we feel we are not able to reach because of various different obstacles. Because of the time of day, because of daycare, because of language barriers. So we were able to actually come up with data to help us kind of gather information for parents who we are not able to capture based on various circumstances. So like Mrs. Sheldon said, I think this turns into something that is going to be collaborative. I think that in order to execute our objective and pull families in that do not have a voice or do not feel as though they are being heard, I think it's going to be a collaborative effort in order to try to compensate all families in the world. And I think that in complete transparency, when this first initiative was first pushed out, I was actually on leave. I had my daughter in November. And when I came back, she was still plugging away. So that's just what she does. So I'm not surprised that I'm not surprised that it stopped. She just continued to do what she does. and so I just happened to be a part of it. But when I was, in fact, fully involved in the initiative, that was one of the things that I was targeted with, was putting together families, getting student data, getting family data, trying to find that gap in ways in which we can communicate more effectively with parents and stakeholders.
We had several focus groups in different languages, also with teachers and staff. And then what we found in the next slide, we were able to identify what should be our top three priorities for a strategic plan. And there are in 3 different buckets: communication strategy, sponsoring thoughtful transitions, and building dual capacity. And what's on the left is just the connections. So each one of those buckets, what are they enforcing or reinforcing as far as not only our district initiatives, but also state and federal initiatives that would support our students. So communication strategy, one very common theme that we heard from the several stakeholder groups was that we still need to have a two-way communication system and have channels that are open for parents to feel and parents and caregivers to feel like they can systematically communicate with the schools. And that, going back to our 5 C's, the reason why we should be doing a communication plan and strategy that is responsive, equitable, with no access barriers, is to, again, provide the opportunity to build trusting relationships amongst the schools and the families. So the sponsoring thoughtful transitions, we are welcoming better names for that. But what we mean is, and I will tell an analogy first. Probably a lot of you guys have bought like a goldfish once. When I bought a goldfish for 2 of my boys over there, you go to the pet store, they put the goldfish in the plastic with some water, and then you come home and you put the bag with the water, the goldfish in a bowl with water, and you let the water do the magic. They kind of become the same temperature, something happens, and then you cut the plastic and you slowly release the fish in the bowl, right? We sometimes pick the kids who are new to the district, not only us, but like I think in general in other districts too, we just put them in the schools. We probably transition the goldfish a little better than we transition some of our new students in our schools. And having an office in one of the schools, it's great for Miss Maloney, because she can be like, oh, can you help and show the kids what this food is? And the mom will like, where do they even come when they come here for the first day? Is anybody going to be with a sign saying so-and-so grade 3 come here? And those are all great questions that having kids forever in the district, I never really thought about them because I didn't need to think about them. So it was identified, especially with building staff, that this is something that systematically we could be doing a better job to provide a way for kids who are new to the district, not only from other countries, but maybe from another school or from another town, or are feeling new, to transition and better into our schools. But yeah, it's a mouthful name. We can come up with a different name at some point. And building dual capacity. None of this is possible if we don't provide the staff with the tools to help them create family engagement opportunities and to understand what this really means and how we're going to do this. And at the other side, we also need to help the parents to feel equipped so they can become more active partners in their children's education. Next. So in this, there's some of the things that are happening right now. On the right, you can see some of our active partners at the moment. But as far as communication plan, we have Language Line, we have a new family engagement website under construction. We still have our affinity groups. We have over 120 Portuguese-speaking moms in the Portuguese group. In Spanish, probably close to 30.
Yeah. No, I think it grew to like 50.
Yeah, and this is, again, this morning they were exchanging job offers and exchanging furniture, and this is something that we not only want to continue to cultivate, but also we want them to connect with each other so they can help each other. Sometimes they ask questions, is it really holiday tomorrow? By the time I got to that question, somebody already answered. And this is great because it builds our capacity too. We cannot answer all questions all the time. And also we still do a lot of one-on-one. This is our nature of meetings, but what I meant to say, house visits. Thank you, Nazir. I think you were in one today. And so as far as sponsoring thoughtful transitions, we are working, as I mentioned, on the 5 protocol and in partnership with the Burlington Public Schools, and thank you, Dr. Crowley and Dr. County from Burlington Public Schools. We are able to procure $300,000 funding to create equitable medical access for our students who are in need of immunizations and physicals. So Tufts Medical, you guys probably heard about it, but we are so excited. Tufts Medical students are coming back again in a couple of weeks. Dr. Wayne Altman is coming as well, and it was a sight to behold. You guys are welcome to come visit the next one. Ms. Comier was there, and it was really amazing to see a cafeteria turning into exam rooms and have all the children coming with the parents. We had crafts stations, we had snacks, waters. Some families brought 4 kids to get the exams done. So we continue to connect and provide for our highest need, food assistance support. And the high school, we met with Lisa and Marianne, and we were discussing some Latino and Hispanic food options. Have you tried any of them? No? No. Sometimes I get a picture saying, today's the day, come try, but I haven't been able either, which is amazing. My kids are there, and they're like, yes, we like that. Hopefully one day we'll be able to have more multicultural food options throughout the district. And dual capacity building, we have quite a few after-school programs that are from the 21st century. Thank you. And we also have the clinicians coming on after school, as Ms. Gage was mentioning, with another grant. We have also a homeless youth grant program. That's what this grant is to connect homeless students and youth to recreation activities after school to promote family engagement and student engagement. We all have been to the soccer sidelines, the lacrosse sidelines, and we know that's how parents meet each other, kids make friends, and we feel a lot of times homeless students are not able to do that because they can't. But we have quite a few students enrolled in different activities, right? 27. Okay, yes. It's amazing. A lot of them were interested, but they couldn't because of transportation, but it's a start. And that's, again, probably one of the most difficult parts of this job is to remember of the things you were able to do, not focus on the things that you haven't done yet. So 27 are doing it. Oh, there's 20 more there aren't. But we need to kind of step back and say, but 27 are receiving support that's probably going to change their lives. Also, we have Alta Vista event coming. We had a Title I event at the Shamrock. We have one coming in Alta Vista this Thursday. And the way we run those events is always with a theme to equip the parents. And the parents bring the kids, and part of the evening is without the kids, and the high school volunteers watch the kids, and then the rest of the evening it's with the parents and the kids together, and the teachers will bring activities hands-on for them to go to different stations and to learn about the theme that they were discussing that night. We offer food, we offer dance and movement, and at the Shamrock, we'll see pictures in a minute, we were able to get them all wind up with dance and movement, and then we had the adjustment counselor talked about bedtime routine and how to decrease and calm down kids' energy before they go to bed. So it was really great for us to watch that working in person. So we have another event coming like that. We're able to participate in new staff orientation. We're working on multicultural PD. Erin, Kendra, and I working like very beginning stages, and I've done a couple of staff meetings at the whole Wyman, which they thought was interesting. I also spoke to them in Portuguese, like I did with you guys, so don't feel like it was a treat just for you. And as I mentioned, we're going to have the LPAC coming and WUPAC in June. We are wrapping up adult ESL classes for parents and families of Woburn Public School students. And we have had a few visits from other districts and from DASI. Specifically in February, the leader for family engagement came to visit us because, again, whatever we are doing, they seem to believe we're doing a good job and wanted to learn a little bit more. So if we go to the next page. Oh yeah, I also read to the students in another language, so yeah. And this was actually quite interesting. First, the students weren't sure what I was saying, and then by seeing the pictures on the book, they were able to make the connection. And then they realized that some of their peers could speak more than one language, or they were learning. So they shift from lenses of deficit to it's so cool to speak more than one language to their peers, and that was really quite interesting. So I take appointments. You can just again, Kristen's it's smart to have me there to do those things. And that in the middle is Nantucket Public School visit. They came all the way. Yeah, they took the ferry. They slept overnight, and they stayed here a day and a half to see what we have been doing. And we went around some visits. And even for that visit, the middle school created a play for our guests to see. Then down below is the LPAC with the Ambassador of Brazil. And I thought he was never going to be able to leave because so many parents had so many questions for him. And we had over 60 people that evening. So next up. That's the Shamrock Title I night. So yeah, I didn't mention that. The Woburn Public Library also came, and we had families who were still not member be connected at that night and leave the night with a library card. Those were the kids it got a little wider than the picture shows, and then doing the relaxation. This is a new family from Afghanistan who were there, was so happy to be there. We have books, and we also have books left over, and Mrs. Young also has procure some books for us too, because what we like to do if is a literacy night, to just give them the books for them to read at home, but also the ability for them to go to the library and continue to get books. Because when we talk about why it's important to read at night, parents can say, I don't have time, I don't have books, I don't know what books. We are trying to cut all the excuses with providing a solution to the issues that they might present. And Mr. Clark did a bedtime story with Mr. Clark, which was a successful event. I think he thought he did well. And and that's our night with the equitable medical access, which we had, I think, 6 of those exam rooms put up in the cafeteria. And yeah, and these are the medical students. That's Patrick from Burlington Public Schools Assistant Superintendent, and Olga from DASI. So yeah, when DASI visits, we put them to work. She did translation, and she was working at the registration table. She was happy to do that. So this is a little bit of what we have been doing so far, and how we have been doing it, and why we have been doing it, and where we're headed. Will we take any questions?
Thank you. Thank you for the illuminating presentation and letting us know where you're at now. It's only been a few years since we started this, and we've done an enormous amount of work. Ms. Gomia.
Thank you for this. This was very enlightening. Even some things that I didn't know, and I feel like I follow your trajectory pretty closely. You all are just amazing, and Adriana is everywhere and part of everything, and has so many resources and knows somebody everywhere. So you are just such a phenomenal resource for the schools. The supervised learning centers, obviously with Nantucket coming to see, it's such a model for the other districts. It's not, we don't all have the luxury of staying home with the kids. And so, and even if you did, sometimes they just would learn better in that setting. And so it was really just such a great resource for everyone. And it's really important just to see that it's not just low-income families. It's not just multilingual families. It's all of our families that can benefit from family engagement. And, I mean, that was half an hour of just part of your day. And I just think that's amazing. And again, the important part that I took away from the Street in Maine was that it is two-way communication. It's not, we have to translate, we have to get the language line so we can tell them. We need to hear what they're saying, too. We're not just talking at them. We are also getting feedback from them and making sure that they're getting what they need. So that was a really great opportunity for me as well. I know Brandon McNamara was there, Dr. Kent was part of the team, and that was just really enlightening and really great to learn all of those things about how we engage our families. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lutzen.
Just a couple of questions, and to echo Ms. Cormier, you and your team have made Woburn a leader at the state level in this kind of work, and it's great to see.
Thank you.
The numbers you're showing us in terms of our enrollment demonstrate the need for this kind of work. What do you sort of see moving forward as our greatest areas of need? I mean, you've laid out your strategic plan, and it's clear that that's moving us in the right direction. But given that we are seeing increases in low-income students, increases in multilingual learners, what do you see as the biggest areas of need for us over the next 3 to 4 years?
I think first we need to build internal capacity, but we need to build it strategically. I have talked with other districts that would say we have one liaison per school and we have a department of translation, but we still don't know where we're headed. So we want to increase capacity, but knowing how we're going to do this job. If we have one liaison per school, what are they doing? How are they going to be evaluated? So I think the first thing, because it's, one time somebody did the math. I actually work with close to 4,500 students, 9,000 parents, 10 schools, 10 principals, some assistant principals, and I was like, stop counting. My mind's going to blow. So it is quite a miracle that we do this in 1.5 people, and I think we need to think strategically how to grow not only the family engagement team, but also how to equip the rest of the district to operate as family engagement people and build our capacity both ways.
Along those lines, I noted as we were looking at the Family and Community Engagement Tracker, and you talked about how food insecurity seems to be on the decline, which is outstanding news. But that one of the things that was on the the increasing need was extended learning opportunities. Mm-hmm. I know that both the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA have been longtime great partners with the Woburn Public Schools in after-school care. And I wondered if, Julie, Seth, if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about those programs. And that's something that I've heard a lot of community input in terms of the need for additional supports in terms of after-school work. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think definitely it's a goal. We talk a lot about some of the challenges, especially that we've had this year with staffing shortages. We know that there's wait lists at every after-school program in town, and so definitely we're certainly focused on increasing opportunities and making sure that at every elementary school and hopefully middle school also that we can increase the number of slots. We're actually at Ms. Riley's here. We're actually working with Ms. Riley to apply for some additional funding from DESE next year to open some additional slots at an elementary school. We're really fortunate, Adriana touched on it briefly, but we've had the 21st Century funding to provide free after school at the Shamrock School for about 13 years now. And this year, we're just wrapping up year 1 at the Malcolm White School. And I can 100%, having been involved in the 21st Century world at DESE for so long, I can 100% say that our partnership is the reason that funding was awarded this year. So we're really glad, and hopefully, because it's been a successful year at the Malcolm, it will be successful in maybe opening a third one in September. But it definitely is a challenge, and we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel in our field with being able to hire some folks, and so we're hoping that in September it will be before school is also a challenge. We're fortunate, the club's fortunate, we offer 2 programs in collaboration with Woburn High. We offer the PE leadership program with Mr. Laplon, and so the schools where the students can get there and get back for second period, we're able to do it. We haven't been able to identify any funding sources to sort of get bodies in any other buildings early in the morning, but that's certainly something that we're always looking out for, because we know now that parents are back to the office, it's important. We want kids to be at school on time, well fed, and ready to start their day, ready to learn. So definitely a need that I think we're starting to see a light, and we're always looking for additional funding opportunities, and we're fortunate that this partnership has caught the attention of the state, so we are able to apply and hopefully bring some more funding into the district, especially for being able to provide affordable after-school slots, not just any slots.
And I'll just briefly add that, as Julie mentioned, the staffing has been really one of our biggest barriers. Finding quality team members to take care of and educate kids after school has been a real challenge for us, just like for the Boys and Girls Club. We are excited to, in the fall, be bringing our Alta Vista program back online, and so providing some more resources to that school. I also will just say that extended learning continues into the summer, and so both the club and the Y have summer programs at our locations. In addition, we're really proud to have the Power Scholars program at the Reeves Elementary School. That will be its second year at that location, though it has been in the district for, I believe, 6 years. And we really know that there's great need in the summer too for kiddos to be able to be in a safe place that helps them grow forward and not have any regression in the summer. That being said, we have capacity at our spaces, and so finding, like Adriana said, the ways to connect families to the care that exists is something that continues to be a challenge and an opportunity, because we know the need exists, and we're proud to be able to have space to support kids.
Just one additional question. You mentioned students from Afghanistan in the last slides. And I see refugees as one of the populations that we are seeing in our schools. I wondered if I know this is something you've worked with and sort of prepared for in particular. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about the particular challenges that refugee populations face as they're coming into our schools. And maybe a little bit about where we are currently seeing refugee populations from in Woburn. I know our numbers are relatively small comparatively, but on the increase.
So we, as a state, we are expecting more refugees and evacuees to come. We just don't know where they land yet, because it really depends on what the organization that's working with them can find housing. So we were very lucky for this specific organization to find housing across from the Reeves, so this family was there. And I think the first obvious challenge was that they don't have birth certificates. They don't celebrate birthdays. And this is something that for us, well, I don't have either because I misplaced mine, but for us, we do everything with birthdays. So how do you enroll in a child and do grade placement without a birth certificate? But the commissioner had written the memorandum had guidelines for refugees and evacuees, and one of the guidelines was to create a declaration of age affidavit with the mother stating when the child was born and relating that to a world event, so we could all understand, the context and the time of that birth. But that was something that was my first time seeing it, and none of us had an answer right away, but we met with the family, and she sat there for over 2 hours saying, we are going to find a solution. We don't know what the solution is yet, but we are going to find a solution. And I think the other challenge that we have, is less visible, is the trauma that a lot of these families come with. And sometimes it's easier for us to handle something that is lacking when it's visible, but if a child is coming to school with an invisible trauma in her invisible backpack, and we don't know about it, everything that we are doing, going back to sponsoring thoughtful transitions. We need to think that some of the children coming to a district, their baseline is already trauma-based. They are post-traumatic to some certain event. This family, once they were leaving, the airport was being bombed. So when we asked them, it's almost, for me, it's a little embarrassing to ask for paperwork. I'm like, paperwork? What paperwork? Like, you're here. There's like nothing else that I can say that you are here and you're safe. So, and also I think goes back to the compassion that like we don't know the answer, but until we find the answer, we're going to be here for you. And these are the other resources we can connect you with. She came to the Shamrock event, and she was so excited. Both children came to the Shamrock event, even though they're not from the Shamrock. Mr. Clark said it was okay. So we try to not turn anybody down with no's. We try to find solutions and other ways to support the family creatively.
Thank you very much for
I
all
hope I
and
answered
everyone for all that you've been doing.
Ms. Crowley.
Thank you. Thank you for the great presentation. I appreciate it. The strategic plan. So I know that the superintendent is working on a strategic plan for the district. So I guess why is family engagement doing a different one? Are they working together?
No, it's not a different one. But once we have the district family engagement, that our family engagement, the district strategic plan, our family engagement needs to support that and help us push forward that. Okay. So that's why we are also not like presenting a family engagement strategy or plan, because we're still working on the district level and also working on ours. But obviously, I don't know, we might end up with our strategic plan for the district with one of the pie things being family engagement.
Well, this is my only, like, I would invite updates to the school committees, because a strategic plan, looks at resources and long-term planning. So it would be great if it ran through central office, so we would all have, all agree as to what the vision for family engagement is, and we can all know what kind of resources would be expected from us in the city to expand family resources and engagement.
Yeah, but we don't have, we're still working on, what we have there is the identify top 3 priorities based on the focus groups and the...
Oh, I think it's great. Yeah. I think the conversations are great, but I think it should, obviously be engulfed by the superintendent's vision for the district. Yeah, thank you. And Nellie, I just wanted to thank you for, I see that all the time, that families are often intimidated by school systems, and I just really appreciate you bringing that forward.
Can you tell the secretary that my child's going to be out? I'm like, okay.
No.
Yes. Yes. And I just think that, in giving that example, you really emphasized exactly the kind of work that you have to do. So I really appreciated that. So thank you for the presentation.
Anyone else from Mr. Mullen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could, first of all, great presentation tonight. I wanted to ask your biggest challenge, but I think Mr. Lipson already asked that. I think you're trying to build this team within the school district, so it's just not, you two young ladies right here trying to, like you said, you got 10 buildings, so many principals, assistant principal, staff, and thousands of parents and so many thousands of students. So we'll save that for the future. Hopefully we can get to where you want to be. But sitting here tonight, I'm sure anybody that's watching this on cable or sitting home listening in the future about what this team of people are doing for the community, for our families in Woburn. How else could someone get involved? Where would they start? Number one, if they saw this presentation, perhaps their language issues, diversity issues, food insecurity right now in their family. Where does the first step come from a family that just watches? I'm going to click on the school committee meeting and see what's going on, and they heard some of the great things you're doing, or someone said, how can I help them be better? Where would they begin?
They can go to a new website for families, and then there's family engagement, and if they click there, get connected, and then they can send an email directly to us, and then we'll reply to them.
Just looking, some of the initiatives, some of the partners, not just, the Boys and Girls Club or the YMCA here locally, but, all the connections that you've made in this short period of time, with this little organization. Others might be out there that are saying, I can help them too.
Absolutely.
I have this resource.
Yeah.
I can help you do this. I can do that for you. So, perhaps, people will reach out to you and you'll be even better.
And
what
they
happened
can
to the swimming pool
also come to our office at the Harold Limerick. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people just drop in.
Yes.
All set, Mr. Mullin?
All set, thank you.
Anyone else have any follow-up questions? Superintendent?
Sure, just thank you very much for the presentation and the partnerships that have yielded to the benefit of our kids. So, that's what we're here for. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to just take this time to thank you, but also to highlight the support we've gotten from the city side of the government to support this endeavor, because as you've demonstrated, this not only affects the school system, it affects how people are able to survive in the city and meander through the rigmarole that is the city of Woburn, offices and so forth. And so I think this shows that, school committee, working with the city council, working with the mayor, have really developed a program that reaches out to everybody in the city. So thank you very much, and thank you for the work you've done.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Martin, you can stay there, because I think we'll move on. I think we'll pull up our,
saved you a trip.
since we're under suspension of rules, I think we'll bring up all the other two candidates.
Sure.
Yeah, one new face
Yeah,
and
so,
two familiar faces.
I'm pleased to introduce new principals, or sort of new principals, to the Woburn Public Schools. Steve Martin is the interim assistant principal at Woburn Memorial High School. Seated in the middle is Judy Mera. So is going to be the principal at the Linscott Rumford Elementary School. So, welcome, Judy. And Linda Riley has been the principal at the Alta Vista and will continue in that position in the future. So I believe everybody has resumes and just an opportunity to get to put faces to names and look towards the fall.
Yeah, see, we have two Boston College Eagles. I don't know, Dr. Riley. But anyway, so I think, Ms. Mira, if you just want, the other two faces are familiar, so maybe if you just give a brief review, and then we'll have a few questions from the committee.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. I can just tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm currently an assistant principal in Hudson, Mass, in an elementary school there. And prior to that, I've worked as a classroom teacher, a literacy specialist, and a literacy coach and curriculum leader, K-8. And so prior to Hudson, I was in Lincoln and Waltham before that in these other roles. So I've been educator for a long time, and one of the things that in my current role that I really loved, really as an administrator, is that it pulls together all of the things I love about education, that I get to connect with teachers and student learning, I get to connect with students, which is really the heart of the work, and families. And so being an administrator, I really have loved that role, and I'm excited to come to Linscott Rumford. I know I'm stepping into big shoes with Ernie retiring, and I've been able to spend a handful of days there connecting with him. I was there today for the faculty meeting, and I'll be spending a few more before he wraps up his time there. So I've enjoyed getting to know the staff and some of the families. I was able to attend the PTO meeting last week. So little by little, I'm getting to know the school and the community, and I'm excited. And then outside of that, I have 4 children of my own. My youngest is just graduating from high school, and I have 2 in college, and 1 graduated. So, I love working with elementary students because I live with too many teenagers.
Good. I'll open it up to the committee. Any questions? Ms. Crowley.
Usually I go like that. Ms. Mara, was so lucky to have you. I'm so excited. And I just want you to know, as a school committee member, I see principals as education leaders that can really just take off and really take on the central office's vision for education to the extent that they want. And I hope you have the freedom to do what you want and how to run the school. So I 100% support you. And whenever you need something, just come to the school committee and we'll try.
I wonder where you're going.
So welcome to the district.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. here. And each visit I've had, I get more excited about it. And I know it's bittersweet. I'm in a place that I love. It's hard to leave. You know, I'm leaving there because I want to become a principal. And, you know, I only applied to a few places because I wanted to be in a place that felt like a good match. And coming here felt like it would be a good match. So I'm excited to be here. And thank you.
And the Linskit is pronounced Linskit. No one really knows why.
Well,
and Rumford just disappeared, so
yes.
it's just Linskit.
I loved it on one of my visits when I was walking around with Dr. Crowley, one of the students. He's like, we pronounce it the Linskit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I got to practice that.
Once in a while, there's Lynn Scott, and it's
Yes.
like, ooh,
I think that's, yes.
Saucy.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's the first time the word sus has been used at a school committee meeting. So you started to address it right there. I'm just curious as to what about the Linskit appealed to you. I mean, it's a wonderful small community, and I wondered if you'd speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, I think initially it was, you know, the city of Woburn that appealed to me. And one of the things I love about where I am, there's great socioeconomic diversity, cultural diversity, you know, a growing population of multilingual learners. And so I saw some of those similarities from where I am now to coming here. And so that was one of the first things that appealed to me. And I think in particular with the Linskit, you know, really the size of it. It's rare to have a school of that size. Every visit, when I was here last time for my interview, and I asked, you know, some questions about both what people loved about the school and whether there are things they wanted to change. And the thing that they loved was about the community, about that feeling of community and family there. And then again, when I was walking around the school with Dr. Crowley during my second interview, students said the exact same thing. And so I thought that really says a lot, that I'm hearing that from a group of adults, and I'm also hearing that from students. So I think those were a few of the things, you know, that really made it feel like the right match. You know, I love what I do. I love talking to kids about learning. I love talking to teachers about learning, and you know, just all of those pieces with each time felt like the right match.
Thank you.
I was happy to be on the search committee when you were there, and your excitement for education was prevalent in that meeting, and I think that it was just a strong point to say that someone's would be happy to come to work every day. All four of my children went to the Linskit, so it's a great school, it's a great community, and people really hold strongly to that school. Unfortunately, you'll have the para that had been there. She was telling me the other day, it's 40 years. She'd been in the school since her child started kindergarten and never left. So I don't know who ran your mimeograph machine, but she was the one that did that. So I just, and Miss McKillop we honored last week, and she was 40 years in our school system. So in 20 years as a principal, so I hope you stay for a while. You're going to get that record.
I plan to stay for a while.
Yeah, so it's a great school, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the community? You know, we know Mr. Martin and Dr. Riley, but
yeah, so we don't need to talk to you.
But I forgot, you know, we have an audience of vast numbers that watch us and may not realize it. So Dr. Riley and Mr. Martin, maybe you can just give a brief introduction about yourselves. So for those few people that don't know you already. So
okay.
You can go first.
Okay, so the vast audience, I like that you described it. So, you know, I've worked in education for over 20 years, and 16 of those have been in Woburn. Taught at multiple levels, from kindergarten to university level. And, you know, when I went from middle to high at high school, then I went down to elementary. I really found a love for language and literacy. So, and then that led me to my doctoral studies, where I noticed, you know, following the presentation that we just watched, I noticed some of the gaps in learning. I wanted to like really dissect that more. So that's what I researched, and ended up with using my dissertation was on the impact of multicultural literature on student achievement, and then I would work with teachers on all that I learned, and I just, you know, my husband calls me a nerd, and that's now on TV. But I wanted to share all this stuff that I learned with others, and even if they didn't want to learn, I would hold them hostage. And being an EL teacher at that level of elementary, I was able to go into these K-5 rooms, and everybody had to listen to my ideas. And then I was like, you know what? I love to working with teachers similar to you. And then the University of Mass Lowell asked me to come back as a professor, and so I kind of jumped there, and then working with principals and superintendents, and I was a little bit like, I want to take it to another level for my day job as well, and then started as the interim principal, which was really, I feel like that was kind of a blessing. It was like this really big dress rehearsal, and then ultimately I would have done anything to stay, and I'm really glad that I can. And that's it. I feel very fortunate to have landed where I've landed in Woburn at the Alta Vista with some amazing teachers, staff, families. So.
Mr. Martin?
Yes, well, all you guys feel like family already. My name is Steve Martin. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I attended Boston College, played football for BC, graduated in 2001, and started teaching at Woburn High School in 2002 in the English department. I've taught all levels of English, EC to AP. Was in the classroom teaching for 15 years. Coached every sport under the sun, as Mr. Duran can attest to. Football, baseball, cross, track.
Not boys lot.
What's that?
Not boys lot.
Never got on stage. That's a story for another day. Never happened. And I started the first, truly diverse, in my opinion, diversity, equity, inclusion club, Embrace Club, 4 years ago. I've been, right now I'm on the PAC-TAC committee, which is an advisory committee through DESE, which we're looking at coach responsive teaching. I've invited students back as an alumni, students to come back and kind of give advice, feedback, guidance to some of our students in regards to their profile and what they can do to improve their network and improve their resume. And right now I'm in a position to make more of an impact in Woburn Public Schools. And I do feel like this is important. I feel that I take a lot of pride in what I do. And one of the reasons why I felt that this is an opportunity that I should take advantage of is because of when we went through the first round of resumes with the first group of, candidates, no one mentioned Tanner Pride. That was never mentioned at all in any of their responses, period. And that's something I take a lot of pride in. The fact that I'm here, the fact that Woburn has given me so much to, I'm the first person in my family that's ever accomplished something like this. I take a lot of pride in that. I take a lot of pride in the students. I take a lot of pride in the staff. I take a lot of pride in the stakeholders who believe in me. And I'm going to give them everything that I can to make sure that I do the best job to bring back that Tanner pride and that energy and that life that Rocky Nelson instilled in me at the end of the day. And so I've told Allison Nelson that I'm dedicating this year to Rocky and the person that really brought me in and taught me everything I need to know about Black and Orange. It's something that I believe every day. And so I'm going to give everyone on this panel my best with the 2 kids at hand. I'm going to make a sacrifice. My wife as well.
I was going to say.
And I'm just very honored and privileged to be in this position that I guarantee that I can do everything I can to make sure that I fulfill the obligations that I gave to you guys as well as the Supervised. So thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Steve, I'm sorry, Mr. Martin. I think you're just going to do a fantastic job. When I heard that you accepted this position, I was thrilled. I think that you are an excellent balance of positivity and intellect, and I just think, I can't wait to see what you accomplish at high school. Yeah. And Dr. Riley, I'm always impressed with your commitment to children made vulnerable. And when you took the job at the Alta Vista, I knew you were going to do great things, and I've just been very impressed everyone loves you up there, by the way. So I think we have a great group of principals, and I'm just so excited to see what unfolds in the next year. So thank you all.
Okay, Mr. Mulrennan.
Thank you. If I could, to Dr. Rowley, especially as a neighbor of the Elder Best of myself, and
You're not really a
We all
neighbor of
know.
Valinsky.
a neighbor of all students. When the superintendent brought to our attention that you were going to accept a position as permanent principal, he alluded to the fact that you kind of went throughout the whole building, your excitement. I feel like I hear it down at my house when the answer was given that you were going to accept the position. So obviously, like all three of you, you're in a great position right now, and I look forward to seeing some great things. Ms. Barrett, again, your school is just as connected as the Linscott is going to be ever connected as the Alta Vista was. And to Mr. Martin's point about the black and orange and the Tanner Pride and the Woburn Pride, you'll learn from others in the community what that all means as time goes on. So, welcome.
Just a couple of quick additional points. Mr. Martin, I too was very, very happy when I heard that you accepted this position. And I also just want to highlight the work that you've done with the Embrace Club has been, I think, a real highlight for the Woburn Public Schools over the last few years. Really helping students who didn't always hear their voices reflected have that experience. And so, I know that they truly value your leadership. I know that I truly value your leadership, and I'm also very excited to see what you do in your position, in your new position here. And Dr. Riley, your journey in education, I love. I think it's the joy, like your career, as you describe it, has been shaped not by ambition, but just by a love of education and just digging your hands into what's next and letting that lead you, and it's led you, I think, to a perfect school for you. And so I'm so happy to see that you've accepted a full time, to continue on permanently in that job. So thank you both.
Ms. Chisholm.
Well, I just don't want to make Mr. Martin feel bad, so I just, but congratulations. And as one of your former students, when I told him, he was like, he's a cool dude. So, and so when you have somebody that's 30 years ago and say that, as an English teacher, you were awesome. So, it's really made an impact on many people's lives, and I'm sure you will continue to do the same.
Yeah. So we look forward to, the enthusiasm that you bring to the system, and we look forward to hearing from you in the fall and years to come after I'm gone, the things that you're doing for the system. So appreciate you being here tonight, and we're here to help, and so reach out if there's things we can do or things you want to broadcast that you're doing. So best of luck. We'll see you in the fall.
You'll see something tomorrow.
Thank you. We'll see other people.
Enjoy.
Still has to go back to work.
Thank you. I don't go to the schools every day, so.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right. Okay.
Now we back
Working
to
our way back to the.
Now we go back to the top.
Save the best for last. Do you want to take executive session out of order?
We're just continuing the out of orderness.
Yeah.
Mr. Duran, you all set?
Legs now?
Now the money guy.
Yeah.
Please, you want to lead us?
Sure, well, just, I think everyone knows.
Yeah.
Athletic Director, Mr. Duran, a couple topics, but one was the practice lights, updates on the practice field.
Yeah, so we would like to go out to bid. We know that the light, Musco Lighting is the light company that we use in the stadium. We'd like to go, they're on the state bid list, so we wouldn't have to go out to, do we have to go to bid, or is it, they're on a state bid list, so we just go to them, correct?
They're on what's called a cooperative contract. So they have already been vetted by the state. So we could purchase directly off this Sourcewell contract.
And then we would just have to, we would go on the state bid list to have somebody do the construction work. So we'll see if that comes under our budget. If it doesn't come under the budget, we don't follow through with the process. So we know we're at the number that we have.
Yep.
And we'll just stay along those lines. We really won't know all the information. We know that the lights are going to be about $145,000. We don't know what the construction cost would be on the rise as we move forward.
Maybe if you could add, currently, we're paying money for lights, and so maybe just go into that.
Yeah, so right now, we rent the backfield. In the process, for the last, I don't know, I would say 10 or 12 years, we rent the backfield, and we have portable lights. So those portable lights, the group that's in pays for them. So we don't pay for them. They pay for the rental and also pay for the lights. So for the last 15 years, they've been paying $2,300 a month for the lights. So if we can get them to pay for it as we move forward, we'll have a set of lights on our own, and they will be not as loud because those are run on diesel. And so I think it's in the overall down the road, it's going to be something good for Woburn.
Kissel.
Did you say Kissel or Mr. Kissel? Oh, I just heard Kissel.
Just a one-word name now. Like Cher.
I think we had this conversation, but just to reiterate, they're paying $2,300 a month for how many months?
They go from September, October, November, early December, and then we kind of go off until January, February, March, halfway through, and then all the way through. Yep, so about 7 months.
7 months. So let's say the quick number is about $18,000.
Yeah.
Approximately. So they've been paying that for 15 years or so.
Yes.
I'm assuming maybe it was a little less at the beginning and gone up over time?
Correct.
All right. Are they going to continue that amount? Like still a rental of the field, but also we're going to charge them $2,300 going forward?
So we'll still be renting them the field, right? And then we'll also be getting a fee for that fee. We don't have that fee direct, but there'll be a fee from them also renting and also using the lights.
Okay. So technically, if the number's right, they're paid about $225,000 to $240,000 over that period of time.
Correct.
All right. So this is being paid out up front, and it's going to be backfilled with the...
And we'll be able to use the field a little bit more. Like
that's what I was going to say.
You can't have games. It's just training that they're using it for now.
Yeah.
So they don't really go. They usually only go. I mean, it's really in the fall. They might turn the lights on in the spring for an hour, but in the fall, it's 4 o'clock. Those things are on. We're using them actually. At that time, we're using them for an hour before the soccer gets there.
But with the rental, does that come with maintaining the bulbs and so on and so forth? As if a bulb blows on a rental, does the rental company come out and replace that as part of that rental agreement?
No, so Musco Lighting, so we just had re-lamped our whole stadium last year, and it was covered under warranty.
Oh, okay.
So that was, I think it was a savings, Bob, about $30,000. We thought we were going to have to pay for them.
Yeah, that's
when we had them come in, they said it was a certain date, and of course we fudged the number a little bit, and they said that we were in. So, and we were able to get into the.
I don't think that word was fudged.
They budgeted for us because
we looked closely at the date and determined
we were close, and it was such a good festival.
Yeah.
The other question I think I had at the meeting, and you addressed it, but I just think it should go public as well, is the lights that are there now, I'm assuming, are a tiny bit lower. These are going to be up a little bit.
These are a little bit higher, but the lighting goes to the field. Like these lights that we have now, I mean, they're just lights that you'd see on a highway.
And that's why I'm asking, because in a sense, well, in the past, there's been issues. I don't care if it's a gas station downtown, whatever. The lighting becomes an issue with the neighbors. So this is being addressed as well.
Yeah, well, we won't have the noise. We won't have the noise. We won't have the lighting that they put out now are all faced onto the field. Like if you look through, there's probably I know we've had some. I don't know if it's in that packet, but in some of the packets, it'll tell you where the lights land on the field, like from certain sections of the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the last piece is the, you're not sure how much, what's the 9250, Control Link retrofit?
So that is like you can turn the lights on and off.
By an app?
Yeah, correct.
You know, this saves you from having to get on there?
Probably, yes.
Or if we're losing real bad, just.
Yeah, shut them off. But thanks for that idea, Pat.
Just trying to help us.
But on the other side, you're not sure of the construction costs.
We're not sure like what it's gonna cost to put the foundations for the towers. We don't know those costs, the concrete costs.
And everyone, most people here probably know that, there's a lot of wetlands there. And when you have a rental, it's something that's just sitting on the top.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go through the building department, we'll go through conservation, we'll go through all that.
And I don't mean for the
Yeah.
conservation piece, I'm
Yeah.
talking these things sinking over time because they're in a backfield. So-
Yeah, I mean, we'll
so we
have
wanna make
professionals who'll be doing that, it won't be me out there digging.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thankful
When
for
will
some
you,
things.
when will you have a construction number?
Yeah, so this will actually, the construction part will be procured under Chapter 149 Public Works. And because they have to go into the ground, it will be public works, so that's how we'll procure it. What we probably would do, as you might know, the Finance Subcommittee had approved up to $200,000.
Yeah.
So we think that the actual cost of the lights and the materials would be about $145,000. I'm not sure if this 9250 is absolutely necessary.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
So I think that we can
Yep.
take that out potentially, which would leave, if we did take it out, would leave us roughly $55,000 for construction. That would be our max, and we'd have to go out to bid. And we would want to time it such that we would go out to bid for the construction, so we would know what that cost is going to be prior to actually purchasing the lights for $145,000 and then realizing that the construction's $100,000. Then we'd have a really valuable asset filling up your storage space. So that would generally be the process. And we would, I'm sorry.
The money would come from?
The money would come out of the field account.
Yeah. But then get backfilled with, again, back to the
Correct.
rental.
Yep.
Not the rental, the payment of what they were paying for lights.
Correct. Yep, and rental, the turf rental.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
true.
so.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Motion to
Mr. Mulrennan?
Thanks. Hi, Jim, how you doing? As far as the process here, I'm sure you'll notify your rental groups as well as our own teams when it begins for disruption of their schedules and whatnot, once construction gets going, so they're not in the way of each other.
Yeah, we'll make sure we'll work around that. I mean, if it's a point in time where we can't get it done this summer, I mean, we might have to push it off until after the fall season. Get it done like late November.
Okay.
So we're gonna work around our schedule and not around theirs, so.
Okay.
We don't wanna, even rentals, like,
Yeah.
until we get them up, we're not really worried about rentals we're just worried about our student athletes.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Okay, motion?
Motion to approve, to go forward with the lights at Woburn High School.
Second.
Up to about.
Up to 200,000.
Up to 200,000.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We look forward to seeing what's happening.
Okay, thank
We'll
you.
see the light.
Okay.
Go to the light.
While we're
Go
still
to the light.
under suspension of the rules, I'd like the committee to consider approving the February 17, 2022 executive minutes. I know I distributed them to the committee. I think you had a chance to read them.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Our attorney,
I've reviewed them and
Thank
said
you.
the matter is closed and there's nothing, need to keep those minutes private. Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now I have a motion to return to the regular order of business.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. So we're on to subcommittee reports. Finance Subcommittee, Mrs. Chisholm.
We have not met because of the whole budget, but we'll be meeting on the 23rd. Looks like Ms. McLeod might post it.
Okay. Any questions for finance? I do want to thank Mr. Mulrennan for chairing the meeting the other day in my absence, and I do want to thank all the members for being available for several meetings that we didn't anticipate to get the budget. I think the superintendent knows when we're going before city council.
Yeah, so June 1st at 6 PM is when the school department has been invited down to City Hall. So June 1st, they said 6 PM.
All right, Mr. Moreno, do you want me to give you a next meeting, you can implore the public, or do you want to do it tonight? Either.
It's about the ice.
No.
Stay off the pond. No, annually, we would ask the public, like we have been in the future, in the past, I mean, that, these budgets get worked on from many times over and over again. We have that number from last week. I don't have the figure in front of me. I don't know if Mr. Lockenard has it again, but obviously we passed it as appropriately. In your absence, Dr. Wells, we forwarded it down to City Council by way of the mayor, who was present that evening as well to talk about it. He was okay with it. We obviously did our diligence to get it down there, but the City Council will have it on that evening. Is that the public hearing on the budget, or just our presentation, do you know?
Our presentation.
So our presentation will be that night, but future nights, the City Council will be approving the entire budget for the public hearing, as we did here, and the public could obviously notify their council members to please approve the budget as presented that they got from the school department, so we continue some of the great programs and initiatives presented throughout that budget. So watch the school website, watch the city website for those meetings and those updates. Email your counselors, contact the mayor's office regarding the school budget. So that's my annual plea for that. Thank you, Dr. Wells, for that reminder.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions about that? Anything else for finance? No. Moving on, Communication Subcommittee, Mr. Lipset?
We have not met. We are trying to set up a meeting for next week.
Okay. And maybe you want to take up the issue about public participation.
I thought about that exactly, yeah.
It's difficult, I think, if we could maybe have it where it's on the screen, that so the full committee could hear somebody speaking, because I think it's difficult, if Ms. Kraut was running it through her computer, but I don't think the full committee gets the effect. So I think if we could do something where we open it up for public comment only or something.
Yeah, we
like that.
can talk about that option.
Yeah, and just have it on the screen. That way the whole committee and the audience could see who's speaking, something like that.
Make sure that is on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for communication? Curriculum and Data Trends Subcommittee, Mr. Mulrennan.
We did meet last week, Dr. Wells, Mr. Chairman, on May 5th, Thursday. I do not have my minutes to present this evening. I'll have those for the following meeting.
Okay, is there any actions that?
No actions were needed. It was a terrific update from Ms. Young's staff. I think we heard a little bit from our student tonight regarding the Civics Day and the change in Student Government Day, just to highlight. I'll get the minutes to everybody, but the change of Student Government Day is now being run by our History Department, June 8th, and the civics presentation will be to follow in the May meeting.
But you don't work anymore. What have you been doing?
Seeing the country. All right, Personnel Subcommittee.
We have not met.
Okay, any question? Anything from the superintendent, any personnel issues, anything that needs to go to that subcommittee?
Once the budget becomes final, I think then we'll become quite active.
Okay. Okay. All right. Resource and Capital Planning Subcommittee.
Big chunk of that was discussed tonight with Jim Duran. I think we touched on it in the past already about that, but obviously the feasibility study as well. We'll keep everybody up on that, what's going on.
So maybe at the next meeting we can have an update timeline with that.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Student Service and Achievement Subcommittee, Ms. Farley.
Yes, we met on May 5th at 5 p.m. Present was myself, Andrew Lipset, Michael Mulrennan, Director of Special Education, Maureen Ryan, Assistant Superintendent Curriculum Instruction, Cody Young, and Julie Cotton from CPAC. I'm just going to briefly summarize my minutes. The administration brought to this subcommittee some concerns about enrollment with new construction. So there will be a change in placement for some students, and they'll be notified this week. So just to let the public know that the administration is staying on top of new construction and the way it impacts spacing and staffing. Then we had various updates from Director Ryan. The most important ones are that there will be some changes in team chairs. There was some shifting in personnel. She hired 2 psychologists starting in the fall, so that won't affect till the fall. And, it was a pretty good applicant pool, so that's getting better. For programmatic updates, there will be a new special education program at the Malcolm White. It's not named at this point, and it's to harness the strengths of exceptional students that have certain strengths, but they may need specialized instruction across all academic areas. So that's exciting. That will be 2 classrooms at the Malcolm White. And then several programs are under review by independent agencies. This is to just improve the programs in the district, bringing in, experts to give us advice on, not give the administration advice on programs. Our therapeutic programs in general being looked at. So Director Ryan's just taking steps to make them more effective. If you go into our schools, Ms. Mulrennan, you'll see that some of the schools have sensory rooms. Sorry, just kidding. Sensory rooms that help kids really help them engage, and it's more occupational. Sort of occupational like things that are on the walls and the hallways, and this is an initiative brought forward by Assistant Superintendent Young and Director Ryan to really just giving the kids an extra layer of support. So that's extremely exciting. And then we ended the meeting talking about professional development. Woburn is bringing in what we call the special education dream team of consultants coming into the district. We have Sarah Ward, we have Bonnie Singer, we have Melissa Orkin, New England Center for Children, which is one of the best schools in the Commonwealth, Kara Janowski's group, Ed Tech, Alan Bloom, Landmark, all of the folks. So doing some great professional development. And on a motion, the Student Achievement Subcommittee can adjourn at 6 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Question, Mr. Moran?
Not a question, it's more of a comment. If you could circle back to the sensory wall, sensory equipment, sensory corridors that Director Ryan's going to be purchasing. I don't know if Ms. Young could at least maybe send us some of those links. Some of the stuff was incredible equipment and materials for all of our students in all of our buildings. I know we've had presentations and offerings in the past where the sensory boards are sometimes at the playground areas or in a hallway at the particular schools, which is wonderful from our families in the community. But I think if Ms. Young, if you've got a shot of some of these equipment, and it's kind of like when we went into the new buildings or the new library, and it's colorful and fun and exciting and just invites learning. I think that was the phrase we kind of, from the slides that we saw. So I think it's going to be well utilized and well maintained and last forever and just fun for the families of Woburn to enjoy at our schools. So the sensory company, I don't know, Ms. Young, what is it?
Yeah.
Well,
So the sensory, we're working with Fun and Function.
Fun and Function, yeah.
I believe I have that right.
Okay.
But it's nice because Director Ryan was able to secure kind of grant funding to really do this, at a kind of a bigger level. So we're really bringing in just really, to your point, like incredible pieces. They're incredibly high quality. There's a bubble tube. Yeah, it's pretty fancy. But there'll be full creating rooms in full rooms in 3 buildings, and then full corridor hallways in all 7 elementary schools, as well as we're also bringing in kind of a range of flexible seating into kind of all classrooms. But to your point, these are not just like little pieces. They're really quite beautiful. I'm happy to share them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. On topic, but maybe more of a correspondence on topic to student services. The Lions Club, we did a Conservation Day was at the pond and around the city on Saturday. And the Lions Park, Lions group goes down there and cleans that park specifically and then provides food. One of the things that came up was that we had put a bubbler in, and then the next thing that the Cummings grant, we got $20,000 for 5 years, so $100,000, is we decided to put a sensory portion of that park down there as well. So,
Awesome.
So we're trying to decide whether it should be in one area or spread out around. I mean, the funny thing is, our Lions mission is to eradicate blindness. so it's more geared to that. But, you know, the flags were flapping. I mean, if you closed your eyes, it was actually a windy day, you could hear the waves going, so it was sensory without actually putting anything in. But it's just good to see Woburn kind of, you know, embracing it, not only at the school level, but the city groups are taking on things like these projects as well, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact of the matter is there are kids that return to school full in-person learning and had some difficulties, and so we responded by getting new equipment and building parks, and I think it's fantastic. So, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Student services? Okay, correspondence. I've got a whole list of them. Sarah Bergman McCool, she had a question about book donations. Ms. Young took care of that for us. I'll respond to her. I did respond to her, so I think that's all set. Mr. Scott, teacher about boys volleyball. Mr. Alcanada gave him the good news, and so they're happy. Ms. Kuberi was here tonight, so she had the same things that she owed. Let's see. Oh, we had a complaint from Ms. Coogan. And the high school principal's looking at that. I don't think you all got on. No?
Yes, you got it today.
If you didn't, I'll forward it to you too. It's okay. Maybe I didn't do it. Okay. The Woburn Public Library is doing a survey, so recommend anybody watching us takes that survey because they're trying to help improve services and meet the services that the people want. Chris DeMio, I think. How you pronounce his name, Juneteenth fundraiser. I think you all got that email. And then Representative Haggerty sent out highlights of the House budget, but of course we're waiting to see what the final budget is. Right. But the most important thing I saw in the House budget was the school lunches.
Yeah.
Going to be so hopefully that will carry over. And that was it for my correspondence, and I'll send them to Gene.
Make a motion, make a correspondence part of the permanent record, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, any other correspondence? Future agenda items? Anybody?
It's not exactly a future agenda item, but I failed to follow up with the curriculum subcommittee. But I wondered if, Ms. Young, you might give a little bit of an update on Student Government Day and the activities, just so the public can hear what the schedule is.
Yeah.
Sorry to put you on the spot on that.
No, that's fine. I'm going to pull it up so that I don't misspeak. Because I want to give you the correct dates. And I just got this in my email.
I thought it was June 6th.
My memory was June 6th.
Yes. Oh, do you want the times?
Or any just sort of additional information, just in case the public wants to take part.
I have it right here in front of me.
Thank you.
So the Civic Showcase, which is on June 6th. Yes, June 6th. There will be a keynote at the high school for all the students at 9 a.m. And then there'll be a city student project showcase citywide, which happens from 10 to 11:45. And that showcase, it will be at locations around the city, the high school, City Hall, Public Works, kind of any place that students did their projects, as well as then there'll be a cookout, which will be at the Woburn Public Library at noon. And then that evening at 6 p.m. will be the WMHS, in the WHMS auditorium, is the Rho Kappa Honor Society inductions. And then we will, previous to that, the Student Government Day, which was done by the English department, is now with the History department. And so the Rotary Luncheon will be on the 7th, and then the 8th, where am I, 6th, 7th, and then the 8th will be the actual Student Government Day, where they will be selected and shadowing. It's awesome, those parts.
So maybe either before, probably after the events, maybe have come in and just do, talk about them and so forth. The Student Government Day, the civics thing, because these are kind of newish. Student Government Day obviously isn't, but they're changed sort of the format, and just give us an overview of how things went, what we can do to help make going forward, because it sounds exciting.
Well, the civics project in particular is new to 11th grade, and,
Right.
and I'm loving what I'm seeing from what Woburn doing, so it's great.
Okay. Good. Anything else, future agenda items? Okay, we do have an executive session. 2 topics. One is non-union personnel negotiations update, and then the second item is teacher negotiation update.
Make a motion, we go into executive session for the purposes stated by the chairperson.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Chisholm?
There for one, not for the other.
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Ms. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Kissel?
Yes.
Mr. Lipset?
Yes.
Mr. Mulrennan?
Yes.
Dr. Wells?
Okay.
Can you send me that list of times and things?
Yes, I can send an update.
Bob, you just want to make sure you turn it on.